consensus. And I think that that is typical of women, that we work through consensus. It doesn't mean that we're not competitive, but we work through consensus. We don't always agree, but in the end, we come to a conclusion of what policy position is in the greater interest, no matter whether it's housing or the environment, any issue. And I think women can come to a consensus, and we are great at that. And that is something that is needed at the table.
It's a goal of ours, I'd like to say, to get across 100 counties, all 100 counties in North Carolina, to educate the public on our programs, so that people know that there is an opportunity to be trained to understand exactly how the political process works, whether it's a board or commission or elected office, and how to navigate your way into those roles. We know that 40% of the counties of North Carolina have no women serving on them, and it's important that women think about how to serve at a grassroots level, a local, civic level, and move on into, state roles, so that our voice can be heard.
When the women come into your training, what all goes into that? How long will the training be, and what all will they be able to, grasp?
Well, the Women in Office Institute, which is our 7-day intensive leadership training, they learn a lot about themselves in that process. They learn a lot about their passions and their purpose and who they are, and how to use that to develop strategies that will help them to run an effective campaign, and then once they get into office, how to utilize those strategies to be effective leaders. They learn a lot about fundraising. They learn how to appeal to their constituents, and the entire constituent base in the communities or in the state that they are hoping to serve. So, a lot goes into those 7 days. We provide them the introduction to the entire political process, and access to elected officials and experts on different subjects, even social media, which is a big deal right now. And so many people want to know, how do you manage social media, and how do you use that to your advantage, and then how do you deal with the negative information that people put out there. So,
being someone who's trying to get in office, what would be some of the mistakes that you've seen someone make that they could have possibly won a position?
Not being a good listener to, their constituents and the issues that they are concerned about, and not letting people know that you are available. I think it's very important for anyone who is running for office to make themselves known and engage in their community, get out there and talk to the people and be a person for all the people.
How is the league engaged in the 2012 election?
Well, we are known for our candidate debates that we host, that we also produce a voter's guide, so where you can receive nonpartisan, non-biased information about candidates, and we'll have that online on our website, Go League Go. And we also, through voter registration projects as well, one of the things that we do that our members that participate in find extremely moving is each week we have a group that participates in the naturalization ceremony for new citizens, and we are there to provide voter registration information for them. And many of these folks they're coming from countries where they've never had the opportunity to vote.
Correct.
And voting is a passion for them, and it's one of the first things that they want to participate in, and the freedoms and the liberties that we have as an American citizen. And we are there to provide voter registration information for them. And I would say every person that comes through is eager to take that registration form. That's one of the first things they want to do. So that we're very passionate about that. But particularly for the upcoming election, we would remind everyone that early voting begins on April the 19th.
In 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed, giving women the right to vote. Why was this so important for both of you?
Well, I think first women had to have the right to vote in order to ever even consider
Correct.
that they could be elected to office, and it was going to take many years after we had the right to vote. But our voice could finally be heard. I mean, I am sure that the wise women were bending the ear of their husbands as they were voting and as they were serving in office. But you know, the women, they first met in I believe about 1850 in Seneca Falls, New York, and they worked on gaining the right to vote for more than 72 years, finally gaining it in 1920. The League was actually formed. We were a very optimistic and confident group. The League was formed actually 6 months before the 19th Amendment was ratified. So we had a League of Women Voters before we actually had the right to vote. And so we were very confident. We were confident then, and part of our goal and our role at that time was to prepare women for this new role of voting so that they would be ready to vote, that they would understand the process, and that they would understand and they would be informed voters. And we've been educating voters and educating people about the process of voting and encouraging them to be politically active since 1920.
How about yourself, Ms. Taylor? What does that impact for women getting into public office?
Well, we can't have a democratic society without women's voice at the table. As I said before, we were underrepresented. We still are, but now that we can vote, I mean, our participation in the electoral process has just made a tremendous difference in things that have happened, the equal pay amendment, and so many different bills that have been passed thanks to women's perspectives and our views, and actually bringing that to the policy-making table. I mean,
And 50 states found North Carolina ranked 37th, with 29% of appointed positions being held by women in a state where women make up 51% of the population. With those numbers, I mean, that's kind of, what does that mean to each one of you?
It means that we have work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, and that is why our mission is so important, so that more people will become educated and use that education to stand up and be heard and inform others. We are hoping that mentor relationships will be formed, and women will think about how their role in public policy will make a difference for their children and many generations to come. So it makes a big difference to hear numbers like that and the others that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
You know, what do you feel would be the, I guess the ultimate would be the president? Do you feel that we're in the coming of a woman being the president? I mean, because Hillary Clinton, she was running.
I think absolutely.
I
think
possible.
absolutely
Yes.
possible. We are completely capable. There are many women, many women.
Prominent women,
Correct.
yes, who are leaders, as you mentioned,
Yes.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and we've had many women who are able to serve in that role, and it's definitely possible. It's important to note, though, that you know, currently only 18% of the people on the 2012 primary ballot are women. So there could potentially be a difficult year for women, but we are still believing that women will find ways in, you know, their communities to make it to the higher level.
Right.
So
That's why it's so important for women
yes.
to vote.
Yes.
And we're part of an organization, coalition right now, North Carolina Women Matter, to really get out the vote. I mean, we want to see 4% of the
Yes.
votes cast in the May primary.
You know, and I guess the reason why I'm saying that is that, you know, if women were, you know, with the numbers that they have, and if they stood by each other, I mean, there would be a woman as president, and there should be one soon. Because I feel y'all are leaders. Ladies are leaders. Y'all do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
we,
you.
We believe in ourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
And we want men to believe in us, so we must consider their, you know, views in the decision making when it comes to voting a woman in office. So thank you for your support of women in public office.
So where do you see yourself at 5 years from now, both of you, within your programs, organizations?
Well, the League will continue working on policy issues, and we will continue to work in healthcare, we'll continue to work in education. We'd like to certainly to see improvements in the environment, and we'd like to see continued improvement in the areas of healthcare. In housing, we're currently a part of the Mixed Income Housing Coalition here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. We'd like to see improvements there. We'd certainly like to see improvements in the women's agenda. Definitely. Right now there are some legislation that women feel under attack, and we'd like to see improvement there. But we can only get there through our own voice.
How about yourself, Ms. Taylor?
Well, the North Carolina Center for Women in Public Service has two programs that we invite all women in North Carolina to take part in. One of them is a Women on Board workshop that we take around the state. It's a one-day workshop, so with that we can go, you know, all across the state with it. And our goal is to penetrate more communities with that program. We are looking for strategic partners to help us to reach that goal, that we will have more women participating in that Women on Board workshop to help them to understand how to get appointed to boards and commissions, which I believe is the pipeline to elected office. And ultimately, it would be great to have our Women in Office Institute migrate across North Carolina as well, so that we have them in the West and the East, and move it, not move it, but continue to have the one, you know, in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Ladies, we're running out of time. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing that?
They can go through our website, goleaguego.org.
How about yourself?
And we're at www.nccwps.org, which is also where folks can find out more about the Women in Office Institute, which is coming up in June, and the application deadline is April 2nd.
Ms. Hayes, Ms. Taylor, I'd like to say thank you for coming on the show and educating the audience on the voting and the women in public service.
Yes.
You know, and anytime you want to come back on the show, you're more than welcome to come on. Audience, visit my website, www.paulinbrown.webs.com. You can also watch this show on YouTube. Come on every Thursday at 5:30. Thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged. Thank you.